Hello, I'm Ted Gottlieb, certified senior advisor, seniors real estate specialist, downsizing coach, and founder of the Senior Learning Institute. The Senior Learning Institute is all about providing free education and resources to older adults and their advocates. This senior learning educational moment features occupational therapist Dr. Jane Bufe, founder of Your Supportive Place, serving the St. Louis metropolitan area. Jane, not everybody knows what an occupational therapist is, so why don't we start there?
Yes, hello everyone. So this is a question I often get, and I think most often we're confused with PT. So the way that I describe it is that OT focuses more on changing the environment and the tasks to suit the person, and then PT is more focused on improving the person's physical functioning. So we work very well together so that people aren't too challenged, but they feel challenged enough. I think we are a great team, but we are definitely not the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and oftentimes PT and OT comes in at the same time, right? And uh, give us some examples about when an occupational therapist comes in, because I often think of occupational therapy as if someone's leaving rehab or something along those lines.
Yeah, OT really works everywhere. We're in outpatient clinics, we're in hospitals, we're in those rehab settings, skilled nursing. I mean, you can find us just about everywhere. Schools, we work with all ages. Sort of an example I can give to show how a PT and an OT might work with someone. So I was seeing a client who was working with PT on how to use her walker appropriately because she was having a hard time with that. And myself as an OT, I was able to help adapt her walker by adding a cup holder on there and adding a little bag because she worked and needed a place to put her computer. So she added a little bag onto her walker. And so that's sort of a way that I think really frames a difference between PT and OT. And there really is a big overlap. So it's sometimes the case that I'm helping someone learn balance exercises, and a PT might help someone figure out where to put a grab bar in their home too. There's a little bit of overlap, but I think generally we're more focused on adapting the environment, and PTs are more about helping the person improve their function
Right. So you
physically.
had some serious education behind you because you've got a doctorate degree. So how many years of schooling do OTs require?
It depends on the program. So for myself, I finished undergrad and then did 3.5 years for my doctorate. I think a lot of programs now are going down to 2 years for, sorry, 3 years for their doctorate. With PTs, they have to have a doctorate degree. With OTs, still we can do a master's or a doctorate, but that might be changing to doctorate only, but time will tell.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right. Well, today we're going
Mhm.
to focus on sleep of all things. Why is sleep so important?
Yeah, sleep is really interesting. I don't think a lot of people think about it as an activity an OT would address. So a lot of people know that buzzword of ADLs or activities of daily living, but sleep actually is included in that. And so that's really where I got an interest in sleep because I started to think about as a student how much sleep really impacts our day-to-day function. So we all know from personal experience how much getting a good night's sleep impacts us. I know for me personally, when I don't sleep well, I can be a little cranky, or maybe I'm not focusing as well that day, or don't have the energy to do things like exercising. So, we all know from that anecdotal evidence why sleep is so important, but also from a research standpoint, there's a neurologist I follow. I read his book. His name's Dr. Matthew Walker. And he gives so many great tips about sleep that are very digestible. And he actually talks about how sleep impacts just about every function in the body and process in the mind. And that really opened my eyes to realizing just how much sleep impacts us, whether it's your cardiovascular system or immune system, or if you think about the mind, just remembering things or making decisions. It really impacts us so much. And we do it for a third of our lives. So if we can get good sleep, that can really, really make a huge difference.
Right. So if you had to say a good night's sleep is X number of hours, what's a range we should be targeting?
For adults, the recommended sleep amount is 7 to 9 hours a night. And everybody's a little different. Some people they're on the lower side of that, some people are on the higher side of that. And so it's really about just testing it out, but getting plenty of sleep is so important.
Great. So if sleep is so important and folks have an issue with it, what are some of the ways one can change their environment or their habits to get a better night's sleep?
hmm So one point that's so vital is to keep a consistent sleep schedule. So we have these internal processes in the body called circadian rhythms, and this is what tells your body that it's time to go to bed, it's time to wake up in the morning. And to really get those circadian rhythms to work, you have to try to go to bed at the same time every day and wake up every day, and that can be hard if you think about it realistically. On the weekends, usually we go to bed a little later and wake up a little later. And I know some people can get frustrated when they wake up too early on the weekends, but that's actually a good sign. That's a good sign that your circadian rhythms are strong. And that's the best thing you can do. Obviously, it's not always going to be perfect, but trying to keep as much consistency as possible is really, really huge. And
Right.
then
So go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to kind of go to another point, this same neurologist, Dr. Walker, he talks about setting up the environment like a cave. And I really like that image because it's easy to imagine. So you want to make sure your environment is cold, dark, and quiet. So that cold, you want the temperature to be around 67 degrees Fahrenheit. I know that's very specific, but maybe you don't have AC at home, but you have a fan or you can open a window. Thinking about how to bring the temperature down can help trigger your body into knowing, okay, it's time to go to bed. The cold, that's the cold. The dark, you would want to turn off screens about an hour before bed, or uh, you could get some curtains for your windows if you don't have any to make the environment darker, or a sleep mask that you put over your eyes. And then the quiet, having earplugs or getting a sound machine to block out background noises, all of those things, having the cold environment, the quiet environment, and the dark environment. Doing those things can help your body know that it's time to sleep. Um, and and that is a great way to get more sleep. And then
Great. Yeah.
another, uh-huh.
I was going to say, and you wrote an article that we have on the Senior Learning Institute website that talks about habits. I think you listed 7 habits. So if folks want more details on that, you can go and read Jane's blog on the Senior Learning Institute website, and it gives a little bit more detail as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of great tips on there. One other one I'll say is that you want to build an association with your bed and sleep. So one way that I test this is by, if I ever try to read or work in bed, I know that I'm going to fall asleep really quickly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That means that you associate your bed really well with sleep. And if you're having a hard time sleeping at night, we all have those nights where we wake up and we're not going to be able to fall back asleep. The best thing you can do is actually to get out of bed. So if it's past more than 20 minutes, you want to get out of bed. You don't want to have that insomnia happen, and do something, either meditate or stretch or just do something very dull in low lighting. I've heard before you can read a dictionary or read a phone book. I don't know if I'll be doing that, but but it's a great way to get your brain to settle down, and you're not building the association with your bed and insomnia. So getting out of bed is another tip that I don't think a lot of people know.
Wow. Well, that's great. Thank you. So
Mhm.
if I were to come to you and say, hey, I've got a problem falling asleep, I mean, is there a formal assessment that you do? I mean, I've heard of sleep studies and things like that, but how do you assess someone and then really kind of narrow down um, what it is that's creating the hard time and then I guess suggesting or prescribing what to do?
Yeah, there's a lot of great assessments out there that assess sleep. And one that I use, it's called the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, or the PSQI. So I use different tools like that to get a better picture of where my client's sleep is at. And I think back to a client that I had a little while ago. This client was only sleeping a couple hours a day. And through that assessment, through asking lots of questions, I was able to figure out that this client was drinking loads of caffeine all throughout the day. We know how much caffeine can impact sleep too. Um, had some anxiety. And so what I was able to do was discuss, how can we reduce this caffeine? How can we start to shift it so that you're only consuming caffeine in the mornings? Maybe teaching different meditation strategies, or turning off the TV. I know this client was putting the TV on all hours of the night, and the client also had a Fitbit. So we were able to look at how the sleep was changing day to day and track it, and slowly start to say, okay, instead of doing 3 hours a night, your goal for this week is to do 4 hours a night, and try to stay within these hours of sleep. So slowly but surely, we're able to get this client to about, I think, 6 hours of sleep within just about a month or so, which was a huge difference. And reducing that caffeine too, I think, made a big difference.
Wow, that's not easy to get rid of that caffeine. I know. For the longest time, I was decaffeinated, and now I'm kind of dependent on it, and it does impact you. And if I have a little too much coffee during the day, I do have a difficult time falling asleep and staying asleep.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For sure. Your services, are
Mhm.
those typically covered under Medicare and private insurance, or is it typically out of pocket?
So I do accept Medicare Part B, which is the outpatient Medicare. So you don't have to be considered homebound for me to see you in your home, which is really great. And then I do private pay also.
Oh, great. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if someone wants to find out more about you, I assume they can find you online as well as call you. So if they want to find you on
Mhm.
the internet, you have a website?
Yeah, my website is yoursupportiveplace.com, and my phone number is 314-200-2610.
Great. So
Mhm.
yoursupportiveplace.com and 314-200-2610. Got that
Yep,
right?
yep.
Great. Well, awesome. All right. Well, hopefully folks will take advantage of your services and they'll find you online, or give you a call. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank everybody else for listening to this Senior Learning Institute educational moment. You know, at the Senior Learning Institute, we strive to provide the straightforward and unbiased information you need to make smart decisions the first time. The whole goal is to connect older adults and their advocates to the resources they need, anything from aging in place, selling the home for more in any condition, which is where I tend to focus a lot, estate and financial planning, in-home care, estate sales, clean out services, you name it, anywhere in the US. We're here for you at the seniorlearninginstitute.com. So visit us at the seniorlearninginstitute.com, or give us a call. Our phone number is provided, and we will get back in touch with you with resources. Until next time, I'm Ted Gottlieb, certified senior advisor, seniors real estate specialist, downsizing coach, and founder of the Senior Learning Institute.